Hi everyone, in today's video I want to show you how you can make some very quick and simple Halloween gift treat holders. I'm using some free paper and some free designs from Creative Fabrica. I never know how you actually say that. It's fabric with an A on the end. So is it Creative Fabrica or is it Creative Fabrica? Anyway, hey ho. They're all free designs that I have been able to download and use as part of my membership. So if you don't know what Creative Fabrica is, it's basically just an online resource with thousands and thousands of designs. You can get embroidery stitch files, you can get SVG cut files, you can get PNG, JPEG, illustrations, all sorts of things. There will be a link to it in the accompanying blog post over on my Apple Lover 53 website. So if you go to my website, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link to my website is in the description box underneath where it says show more, and it'll take you to my website. Then click on the blog tab and just look for this post and all the information will be in it. I will link to the Halloween projects specifically that I'm using so that you've got direct links to them, but we'll also put a link to the general page of Creative Fabrica so you can see what it's all about. You can buy these images that I'm showing you and any of the images on the site. You can buy them individually, but if you use a lot of designs or you want to have a lot of designs at your fingertips, the best way is to join. And then if you kind of split the cost, I joined and paid annually, which means if I split my annual cost down, I think it's about £5 a month it equates to, which for the resources that are there is nothing really. But I think there is also a month by month subscription, but it might be a slightly higher price because you're paying literally month to month. Anyway, that's what I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be using Canva. So you can see that here. I'm on the Canva website, and again, I only use the free version of Canva. So if you go to canva.com, I can't remember whether you have to create an account to use it or not, but as I say, I only use the free version anyway. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an A4 page because that's what I'm going to print my designs onto. So you'll see here it says custom size, and then you can type your width and your height, and you can choose whether you work in inches or millimeters. Now I've already created an 11.75 by 8.25 inch design previously, so that's why that's showing up there. And that's the size of the UK A4 paper. If you use 8.5 by 11, you just type in 11 by 8.5 inches and it will bring you up a blank page like this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've got the 4 designs that I'm going to use already on my desktop just to save some time. So I'm going to select the green coloured illustration here, which is showing as a square, and I'm just going to left click and drag it and drop it into the centre of this page. So now you'll see it's brought it on, and this is how the design is within the folder. It's a square, but I want to turn it. I've used this previously, that's why it's already showing in my upload here. I want to turn this to make it a background paper. So with it selected, I'm going to right click, and if you come down to the bottom, it says here, set image as background. If I left click now, it will fill that page with that background design. Now, obviously, my printer, I just use a basic HP DeskJet printer, and it prints with a border. So although I've filled this UK A size piece of paper here, it won't print edge to edge. It will print with a white border, which I'll show you when I've done it. So that's the green design. So down here you'll see it says add page. So I'm going to add another page, and it's just going to bring a page on in exactly the same size as I've created originally. And I'm going to do the same with the orange. So I'm going to drag and drop the orange onto my page. While it's selected, I'm going to right click and come down and choose set image as background. So I've now got 2 background pieces of paper. I'm going to create another page. When I did mine, I did these 2 together and I did my images separately, but while I'm in Canva, it can all be done together. So I'm going to create another page, and this time I'm going to drag my PNG images on. So I'm going to bring in this character, and he comes on, he's automatically selected. Now, I think originally printed this at full size, and then I realised it was quite big for the bag. So I made the height about 3.5 inches. So if you come down to, say, the bottom right hand corner and left click and drag, when you start to drag in, you'll see the sizes appear in this black box with the white text. And at the moment, as you can see, it's saying 3.7 by 5.8. I want to get the 5.8 inches high, which is the height, down to about, I think I made it about 3 6/8, something like that. It's not vital. I'm just going to drag it down anyway until I get as near to 3.5 or 3.75 as I can. So there we go. I've got 3.6, and then I'm just going to drag this over and put it here. Then I'm going to bring the other one on, drag her and drop her and do the same. So again, I'm going to drag her down from the bottom right hand corner, dragging inwards until I get to about the same or similar height. So I've now got my 2 characters. As I say, when I did this, I just opened up a blank page in Canva and I dragged them in, and I was in portrait, and obviously this is in landscape. So just so that you'll see, because I've already printed these off, hover over the bottom, select this first design, and you'll see I've got the rotate handles. I'm just going to rotate it and put him there. And then I'm going to do the same with the little girl. Select her so I get the rotate handles, and just rotate her and put her there. So that's my 2 images on my white piece of cardstock, which I have already printed. But I'm just showing you how I created everything in Canva. So now I've got 3 pages. I've got a green spot background, I've got an orange kind of diamond background, and I've got my 2 printable images. And one of the reasons I chose these images is that these images have got a black outline all the way around them. So no matter what colour is in them, so like this kind of toffee lollipop, sweetie lollipop thing is holding here, which is orange and white, it's still got a black line around it. The same with these blue trousers, they've got a black outline. So that means that the scan and cut should pick these up when I scan these through my machine and ask it to do a direct cut. So now I'm going to come up to the top of the page where it says share, and then I'm going to come down to where it says download and select that. Now by default, PNG is generally always selected as your download file type. For this particular instance, I'm going to change it. So I'm going to click on the downward facing arrow, and I'm going to use PDF printing, and it says underneath best for printing. You can use PDF standard, which says it's best for documents and emailing, but I want to print these, so I want to give the scan and cut the best opportunity to be able to cut them out for me, and I want to try and get the best print quality I can get just from my basic printer. So I'm going to choose PDF printing. Okay, so now you can see that's what the file type is going to be, and now I can hit download. So that will now download, and it will drop into the downloads folder on my Mac. I'm just going to go to my downloads folder, and I'm going to bring in the document, and you can see it here, untitled design PDF, because I didn't give it a name basically when I was in Canva. Okay, if I wanted to give it a name on the screen, it doesn't matter which page you select, because this is a 3-page document. I can go up to the top where it says file, and you can see here it's called untitled design, which is what it's downloaded as. But if I click on the pen, I could just call this Halloween and then hit save, and then when I download it, it would download as Halloween.pdf. Okay. So here's my document. So if I double click to open it, it will just open in a window on my Mac. You'll see I've got the page 1 is the green and black, page 2 is the orange and black, and page 3 are my 2 little characters. So for this, what I did, I printed the first 2 pages just on copy paper, because the whole idea of this project is that it's a simple, quick project. So, you know, you've probably got copy paper. You're just going to put some treats in it to give to the children on Halloween, and you know, you might as well just do it in copy paper, because all as they're going to be bothered about is the sweets that are inside it. The characters, I loaded a piece of white cardstock and I printed them on cardstock, but again, you could print them on paper and have the scan and cut them out. It's entirely up to you. I just wanted to print these particular designs on cardstock because I think they'll look better on the front of the paper bag. So that's how I did it. So all as you need to do, you know, is go to your print options on your computer, and it says here, you can see it says all three. So what I did when I was printing on paper, I went to range from 1 to 2, and then I hit print, and that just printed those two on copy paper. Then I went back once they'd printed to print, and I just choose range and do 3 to 3, which means I'm just selecting page 3, and I loaded a piece of card in my printer and printed it. So I got the 2 background papers on copy paper, and I got the characters on a piece of card. So that's how I did that. So I'm going to close that down. So that's how I created the designs using free images from Creative Fabrica and the free version of Canva. Now I'm going to show you how to actually make the project. So I'm going to make a gift bag. I'm going to make 2 actually. I'm going to make one just without a scan and cut. Just going to show you how, you know, to make one just with a basic scoring tool, and then another one I'm going to cut using a scan and cut cutting file that I've got of a paper bag, and then I'm going to show you how to get the scan and cut to cut these 2 characters. So we're going to end up with 2 gift bags with an image on each. So okay, so I've got all the elements here. Now I started cutting this thinking I was recording, and it wasn't, so I'll just recap what I've done. But these were my 2 printouts that I printed just on basic copy paper. When the first one was printing, I saw that it was running out of ink, so I changed my ink for when I printed the second one, and then obviously for when I printed my characters. So this is what I was talking about when I was showing you at the Canvas Workspace screen. Although Canva filled my page that I had set as A4 with the design, my printer prints with a border. So obviously I've got this white border. So basically what I did, these are the bits that I'd started cutting off, and then I realised it wasn't recording. I cut both white sections off, and then this way I need it to be 8 inches. So what I've had to do is I've cut one of the white strips off and left the other one on. So this is going to be the bottom, and I'm not too bothered whether some of this white piece shows on the flap or not. I could even tuck it inside and it probably wouldn't be seen. So basically what I need for the first paper bag, which I'm going to show you how to make without a scan and cut, just using a scoreboard, I need a piece of pattern paper that's 10.5 by 8. Okay, so just put everything else on one side, and I'm just going to bring in my scoreboard. So I just thought that a treat bag, a little treat Halloween gift bag, you know, about 5 by 7 would be a good size to put, you know, some sweets in. So as I say, this is 10.5 by 8. So I'm going to score at 2.5. Now, because this is only paper, I'm using the bigger end of the ball tool so it doesn't hopefully rip the paper. So I'm just going to score lightly at 2.5 and at 7.5. Now, if your paper's got direction on it, you want your direction so that you can see it. So, you know, if you had flowers, you want the flowers upwards and the leaves coming down. Otherwise, they'll be the wrong way around when you're making your bag. And again, if there's an obvious top and bottom, when you're scoring the bottom, which I'm going to do now, you want to turn it to the right 1 turn, okay? And then I'm going to score it at 1 inch, which is the bottom. Now, it doesn't need to be 1 inch. I just gave myself a 1 inch flap just to make it easier for gluing. I could quite easily cut this white section off and just have, you know, from here to here as a glue tab, which I might do, I'm not sure. So just to reiterate, 10.5 by 8, score at 2.5 and 7.5, rotate it onto the short side, the 8-inch side, and score at 1 inch or score at 1/2 inch if you know you're not bothered about the size of the flap on the bottom. So now I'm just going to fold on those lines I've just put in with the scoring tool. So again, if you can hear any noise, it's Eddie. At the moment, I think he's currently trying to chase a fly around the room. It's a warm, sunny day here. You won't be seeing this for a good few weeks, but it's very warm and very sunny, and I've got the doors open. So obviously, you know, things are flying in and Eddie's deciding to chase them all around. So that's my 2.5, that's my 7.5, and then I'm just going to try and find my 1 inch along the bottom and just make sure that that's as even as I can get it. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this right hand corner and left hand corner away and just leave this larger 5-inch section in the middle. So I'm just going to do this with scissors. As I say, this is meant to be, you know, quick and simple crafting for a, you know, a quick treat bag. So I'm going to cut that away. Don't think I've cut that particularly straight, but again, it's not really going to matter. Just going to try and cut it in one go and cut. And then basically what I've done, I've made, when I scored at 2.5 and 7.5, that gave me 2.5 inches wide here, and this section 3 inches wide. And that's because I need an overlap to glue it. So this side is 1/2 inch wider than this side, and that will allow you to put glue there and fold it over. Now you can fold that up if you want, or you could tuck it in and then fasten it. It's entirely up to you. Me personally, with this kind of bag that I'm doing by hand, I prefer the glue bit to be on the outside. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim that white section off, because like I say, it doesn't really need to be 1 inch. That was what I'd just given myself in my workings out. And now I'm just going to angle this ever so slightly. I'm just taking the tiniest little slither off either corner. If I get rid of all that, so the shorter side will fold in and the longer side goes over, and then that goes up, and that's your gift bag. So let me just put some adhesive on here. So I'm going to make another one using a scan and cut cutting file, and then I'm going to show you how to use the scan and cut to cut your images out. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue just along this edge. As I say, you've got at least 1/2 inch there in width that you can use glue, so you could use tape if you want to. I'm going to fold that down, and then again I'm just going to apply a little bit. I'm only putting this on very, very lightly because it's wet glue and I'm using copy paper, so you know you don't want to saturate it because it might, you know, buckle. So I'm just going to press that down. So that is now my little 7 by 5 gift bag. So that's the first one. I'm going to bring in my green and white, my green and black paper, and this is going to be loaded onto my scan and cut mat, and I'm going to cut one of my paper bag cut files. So you know, you can make this either way. You can either make it by hand if you don't mind, you know, doing the scoring and the cutting, or if you want to get the cut file, which is available on my website here under the scan and cut tab, cutting files, you'll find this. You know, you can get your scan and cut to do it. So I'm just going to load this onto my mat, and then I will show you the screen and retrieve the paper bag file and cut it from this paper. Okay, so I've got the paper loaded onto my scan and cut mat, and I've sent the cutting file over wirelessly. So I'm going to go to retrieve data from Canvas, and it should now have my paper bag cutting file on screen. I'm going to do a background scan and say OK, because I want to try and get this paper bag to cut from this piece of pattern paper. Now I'm using my low tack mat because I'm using copy paper. So I can see the design on screen. I'm just going to go into edit and into the align icons, and I'm going to move the paper bag down onto the pattern paper a bit more. And I'm going to move it, let's just have a look. It's going to be tight at this size, so I might just make the paper bag a little bit smaller. So I'm going to say OK, OK again, go to Object Edit, go to Resize, and I'm just going to take the width down slightly, just so it hopefully fits better on this piece of pattern paper. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a treat bag. It's not vital, is it, what size it is? So I'm going to say OK, 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 select and cut and start. So that's going to start cutting, and I'll come back when it's finished and I'll show you, and then I'm going to do the images. Okay, so that's finished. I'm going to unload the mat, bring you back to this camera, and I'm just going to peel off this copy paper very gently, because I, don't want to rip the design that's on the mat. And I'm just going to bend the mat slightly to start to release the cutting file. Just going to put the mat back into my scan and cut machine, and then here is my scallop top cutting file. So again, I'm going to fold on the dash lines that are already in the cut file. So you've got one on one end and you've got one on one of the bottoms. And what I would do with this is I would fold these in. Then you've got your center fold. So for this one, I would fold these in and add glue and fold that over. It's entirely up to you, but for this particular style that I did by hand, I've just overlapped them and folded the bottom up, because this secures in the middle and the bottom. The cut file secures on the side and the bottom. So it's entirely up to you how you do it. So I'm just going to, again, apply just a tiny amount, very light amount of glue, because at the end of the day, it's only holding a few treats, and I don't want the paper to go wrinkly or buckle in any way from the wet adhesive that I'm using. But you could use tape. So just burnish that down, and then when I turn it over, you'll see I've not lined that one up particularly well, but I'm not going to undo it. I'm just going to leave it. And you can see on this one I've got the scallop edge on the top and the bottom, and it's lowered down at the front so that it's easy, for you to know how to put your treats in. This one, just done by hand. I've not done anything, but you could put if you've got a round circle punch, you could put like a thumb notch in there. But again, I don't think it's necessary. This is meant to be just a very simple, quick little project. I'm just going to use the edge of the bag just to try and trim away a little bit of that white paper. It's only because I don't want to get my head right over the desk because the camera's in the way, but it does meet up. If you fold it over and burnish it, it does meet up. So they're the two paper bags. The cut file I've made slightly smaller because obviously I had to shrink it to fit it within, the patterned area of that piece of paper. Obviously, if I wasn't too bothered about having the white border on, I could have made it, you know, bigger. But again, if you're cutting your design from pattern paper, let's say, then you can make the cutting file as big as you want to fit on your cutting paper. So they're my 2 paper bags. So now I've got my printed images, and I just want to show you, this is the same little girl, but these were printed a while ago before I'm recording this video, so I honestly can't remember, but I think this might have been the size it came in originally from its, you know, Creative Fabrica download folder. I'm not sure, I may have shrunk it down, I really can't remember. I've cut it out to test it and I've added a white border all the way around it. Now again, I could use that size on the front of the bag if I wanted to, but if you want to get more images from your you know, your cardstock, if you're cutting them in cardstock, then shrink them down. I know I only put 2, you know, in the video on this page, so I don't know if you heard that, but that was a train going through. Like I say, it's a very warm day here at the time I'm recording this. I'm actually recording this sometime like early-ish August. So I've got the door open, so I've got Eddie chasing flies around the room and I've got the train going through the village, but hey ho. So like I say, you know, if you made them smaller, you'll get more on your page, but that's, you know, just entirely up to you. In the video, I think I made these about 3.5, something like that. Anyway, so I'm going to put these now on my mat. Now, being as though I've got my low tack mat, I'm going to put this on my low tack mat and just see if it holds onto it to cut round the designs. So I'm going to load it onto the mat, and then I'm going to change the camera angle, and we're going to come over to the scan and cut machine, and I'm going to do a direct cut. So hopefully you can see the screen. So I'm going to do scan, direct cut, temporarily save the memory into the machine, and start, and let that mat drag that piece of cardstock through the machine. I'm just going to keep burnishing it down because, as I say, I'm using my low tack mat, but I'm using cardstock. So there are my 2 designs on screen now. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more for you to see. Okay, so they're my 2 little characters. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to drag in the handles just to isolate my 2 little characters. And I'm going to say preview, and hopefully that will pick up the black line that is around all these characters in this Creative Fabrica file. It looks as though it has. I'm going to say OK. Now I like a white border around mine. If you want to cut directly on the outer edge of the designs, just say OK here, but I'm going to add an offset of 0.04, which is my preference. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK again. I'm going to say select and cut and start. And I'm just going to keep burnishing because, as I say, I've only got my low tack mat, and I want to make sure that the cardstock stays in place while these are being cut out. Okay, so that's finished. I'm going to say OK and unload. So now I'm just going to peel the cardstock away. Now, I'm not sure how well you'll see, but I think the calibration on my machine is off a little because it looks as though it's not given me a white border completely around. You can see there's still some black on the design there. That may have been me. It may have been that I dragged the drag handles in too close to the design, or it may be that the calibration is off on the machine again, but I'm not unduly bothered. That was the one I did, as I say, some time ago, and you can see that the white border is even all the way around. So it may just be operator error. So here are the 2 bags I've just shown you how to make, and here are the 2 little characters. So I'm just going to bring in some foam pads and pop these up on some foam pads, You're only sticking them to a paper bag, so you don't need a lot of adhesive. So that's one. Now again, I'm going to pop it, I think, down at the bottom like so, rather than in the middle, but again, that's personal preference. And again, this one I'll probably do the same, just bottom corner. So that's today's quick and simple project, how to make a very quick little Halloween gift bag treat with some free designs from Creative Fabrica. Everything, as I say, will be listed in the accompanying blog post. So if you're watching on YouTube, just directly under the description of the video or the title of the video, you'll start to see the description appear, and then it may say more or show more. Click on that and there's a direct link to my website. If you go to my website, again, it's also on screen as well here. Then click on the blog tab and just look for the picture of this project, or if you're already watching this on my blog, all the links will be underneath the blog post to everything I've used from Creative Fabrica. So I hope you found that helpful. Please let me know if you're going to give it a try. Let me know if you're already a member of Creative Fabrica or if you think you might join. If you use my affiliate link to join, I do get a small commission from it. It doesn't cost you any more. You will pay exactly the same as what I paid when I joined, but you're just helping me out a little bit if you use my affiliate link. Anyway, that's the project. Hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.